In this video, we are going to be discussing how to evaluate sources to determine the reliability and credibility of them before you start collecting information to answer your research questions. And we are going to be using a checklist, an acronym called the CRAP test, where each of these letters stands for a different word. And you'll be using the checklist to determine if the information that you're finding is credible, reliable, and relevant. The C stands for currency, the R stands for relevance, A is for authority, and P is for purpose. So first is currency, and we're referring to how up-to-date the information that you are looking at is. So we want to answer questions like, when was the source published or posted? Has it been revised or updated since it was originally posted or published? Is this information current or is it out of date? And are the links functional? Because sometimes as sources age, some of the links break and then we're not able to access some of the information anymore. And we have to think about the kind of information that we're looking for when determining how up-to-date the information is that we need. So if we are looking for something where we need like the newest research, then that needs to be a source that was published like within the past year or something. Sometimes we need older information. So if we're looking for like firsthand experience from World War II, that's going to be old information. It's not going to be up to date because World War II was in the 1940s. So think about your topic, and if you're looking for like contextual information, you're going to want information from that was published back when these events were happening, or it could be something that's current that was written about events in the past. The R stands for relevance, and this means how useful the information is for a specific research question, because we want to make sure that the information that we're finding actually answers our questions and isn't just kind of like generally related. So we need to ask ourselves questions like, does this source directly answer my research question? If it doesn't, if it's just kind of related, then we need to find a different source with different information. Is the information too broad or too narrow for your needs? Maybe it's like generally related, but it doesn't actually answer your question. That means it's either too broad or too narrow. Who is the source written for, and does it align with your level of expertise? If it is written at like for children, like little kids, then that's not relevant to you as a high school student. If this is written for rocket scientists, then that's too high of a level for your area of expertise. And we need to ask ourselves, is the info biased or is it balanced and factual? So when we're talking about bias, we're talking about information that shares only one side of the issue or promotes a specific belief or opinion. So sources in which the author is trying to persuade or share their opinion would be biased. And generally, we want to find information that is more balanced and unbiased than information that is biased. If you're looking for a source or looking for information about the reasons why people drink alcohol, if you find a source that details the link between alcoholism and divorce rates, that's not answering the question why people drink. So that source is not going to be relevant for you. Next, we need to look at the source's authority. So we're looking at the author or the creator. We're determining that the author, the creator, is an expert and they know what they're talking about this topic. So we need to ask ourselves, who is the author, the publisher, sponsor, or creator? A lot of times in digital sources, there are links. Like if you click on the author's name, it takes you to a link, especially in newspapers, magazines. It'll take you to all of the other texts that person has written. So you can see, is this something that they do frequently? Sometimes it will take you to their bio and you can see their background information. We want to look for the author or creator's credentials, their educational background, and or their affiliations. So if we want medical information, we want someone who knows about medicine. We want like a doctor or a professor of medicine, right? Someone who has those kind of credentials. That means whatever their like profession is. We also want to look at whether the author or the organization is qualified to discuss that information. So do they have experience in this field? Have they written about this before? And again, we're looking at bias. So is the creator of this biased and they're trying to push a certain side or share a certain belief, or are they balanced in giving factual information? And last, we need to look at the purpose of the source. So we're answering why the source was created. And we have this picture of pie because the primary reasons why texts are created are to persuade, inform, and entertain, which create the acronym PIE. So we want to see if the source attempts to inform or teach their audience. Are they trying to entertain? Are they trying to persuade? And if they're trying to entertain or persuade, that shows us that they have a specific angle rather than if they're just trying to give the information. And we want to see if the point of view appears biased. Something to keep in mind is whether a source might be trying to sell you something. So if, for example, you're looking for a website about identity theft, keep in mind that some of those pages might be trying to sell you the product. So they might be like inflating some aspect of the product rather than just giving you the information. Lastly, let's talk about types of sources. This is something that is not new to you probably, but we have primary sources and secondary sources, and primary means first. So this is a first-hand account. These are the most reliable because this is someone who experienced that event or has experience with that topic. An example would be Anne Frank's diary. So this is a picture of her diary that makes it a primary source. Other examples are photographs, speeches. So think of like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches, presidential speeches, letters written, minutes of meetings, autobiographies. So those are texts written about someone's own life by that person themselves, and then personal interviews. And lastly, let's talk about secondary sources. So secondary sources are a source of information that were created later by someone who did not experience the event firsthand. So maybe they read about it or they did some kind of research on their own. So what you are creating with your annotated bibliography is a secondary source. You're looking at sources and then creating text based on that. So some examples would be newspaper articles where someone goes and reports on something, biographies written about someone else, and documentaries.